Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with.
This is going to go down in history as an asterisk next to Rachel Zegler's name.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl.
It's one thing to drop a snarky comment. It's another to make a joke so sharp, so publicly pointed, that half the internet gasps while the other half hits rewind.
A completely spineless, feckless prince buys his swimsuits at Target. It's helpful to be able to tuck. And Snow White is Snow Brown. Now, I don't have a problem with the fact that she's brown. I'm just saying everything about this has to be changed when it doesn't really need to be changed.
Katy Perry, pop queen, judge, and professional soundbite machine, decided to weigh in on the Rachel Zegler saga, because of course she did, but nobody expected this kind of shot to be fired. During what was supposed to be a light moment, maybe even a throwaway gag, Katy cracked a joke that sent the internet spiraling faster than a SpaceX test rocket. And what was the joke about? Sending Rachel Zegler to space, alone. Like as in, please remove her from this planet levels of shade? Subtle? No. Savage? Absolutely.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
No, the people who you need to entertain, the people who you need to serve, the people who pay your salary.
Now here's the thing. If this had happened 6 months ago, people might have chalked it up to weird celebrity banter. But now, the timing couldn't have been worse. For Rachel, anyway. Rachel Zegler has been at the center of a PR tornado. Ever since she started talking about her role in Snow White. From calling the original film creepy to dismissing the love story as outdated, she's gone from Hollywood's rising star to the internet's favorite roast target. Her words rubbed people the wrong way, and Katy Perry clearly noticed. So when Katy took the stage and lobbed that Spaceflight comment, it wasn't just random. It was strategic. It was a moment where one A-lister said what a lot of people were already thinking, but didn't have the guts to say out loud.
A company like Disney so up against it. Why? Because it doubled down on DEI.
Let's talk about the vibe. The moment Katy made the comment, the room got real quiet, real fast. Then half laughed in that, should we be laughing kind of way. You know the sound. The nervous chuckle that says, I'm enjoying this, but I also don't want to get canceled. That's the kind of energy Katy stirred up. And credit where it's due. Katy knew what she was doing. She paused just long enough to let it land. No backpedal, no nervous grin, just that deadpan look. Like, yeah, I said it, moving on. That moment went viral before she even left the stage.
When people say woke, what they really mean is they're describing a worldview that hates you, that hates everything America stands for.
Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. On TikTok, on Twitter, in group chats. Reaction videos popped up before the event even ended. Some people were applauding Katy for finally saying what others were too afraid to. Others called it petty, unprofessional, and mean-spirited. But no matter which side people were on, everyone was talking. And in celebrity culture, that's half the battle. Katy Perry's one-liner became the headline, the conversation starter, the soundbite of the night, and Rachel. Once again, she was back at the center of drama she didn't ask for, but somehow always finds.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
Let's start with the actual moment that broke the timeline. Katy Perry, standing front and center at a live event, was cracking through her usual brand of cheeky commentary when she dropped the line. Something along the lines of, if we're sending someone to space, can we please nominate Rachel Zegler? It hit like a bomb. The room stalled for a second. You could literally hear people trying to figure out whether to laugh, gasp, or brace for a lawsuit. And then came the delayed wave of laughter, the kind that says, oh wow, she really went there. This wasn't subtle celebrity shade. This was a fully loaded roast disguised as a space joke, and it hit Rachel's reputation like it had a tracking system.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Now let's be honest, Katy Perry didn't come up with that joke in a vacuum. That comment wasn't just spur-of-the-moment sass. It was based on something real, public fatigue. By this point, Rachel Zegler had already made herself an online punching bag. She alienated Disney fans. She dragged a childhood classic. She turned Snow White into a lecture series. And for a lot of people, she became the face of Hollywood's tone-deaf obsession with fixing things no one thought were broken. So when Katy dropped that line, she didn't just get laughs, she got validation. She tapped into a cultural moment that was already boiling and gave it a celebrity voice. It was a perfectly calibrated missile dressed up as a joke, and it hit its mark hard.
And so it was like
those people.
very much this, yes. It
Yeah,
was
the
this
people that we
awakening
need
of-
to educate, the people that we need to love into.
As always, the internet split in two. On one side, you had people cheering, tweets praising Katy for saying what we're all thinking, TikToks looping the joke with dramatic zooms and captions like Queen Energy, Reddit threads labeling it the greatest celebrity mic drop of the year. But then came the other side, calling it mean, unnecessary, bullying. Fans, and some defenders of Zegler, accused Katy of kicking someone while they're already down. That it's one thing to criticize a movie, another to go after a person, and in the middle, millions of people replaying the clip over and over again, trying to decide if Katy was just being funny or if she knew she was lighting a fuse. Spoiler alert, she knew.
Come on.
That's the face of a
Probably.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with the sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Noted.
Thanks.
While social media erupted, there was one voice noticeably missing, Rachel's. No tweets, no interviews, no Instagram story clapping back or playing victim. Just silence. And in Hollywood, silence speaks louder than a denial. It says, yeah, we saw it. And no, we're not touching it with a 10-foot selfie stick. Behind the scenes, you can bet Rachel's PR team had a crisis meeting that same night. Do we respond? Do we laugh it off? Do we pretend it didn't happen and hope it dies down? But here's the issue. This isn't just another random jab from a nobody online. This came from Katy Perry. That changes the stakes. And not responding at all, that's a response in itself.
I'm a narcissist.
That she is. And by the way, the producer of Snow White, his son, knows it.
It didn't take long for entertainment media to jump in. Headlines like Katy Perry roasts, Rachel Zegler, too far or fair game, Zegler shade sparks backlash, Perry joke sends Twitter into orbit, Hollywood's queen of camp just aimed a laser at Gen Z's Snow White. Suddenly, this wasn't just celebrity gossip. It was a full-on media event. Clips of the joke were airing on late-night TV, talk shows picked it apart, gossip blogs ran polls asking, was Katy right? Like we were all part of some global tribunal for drama queens. It became more than a joke. It became a story. And just like that, the spotlight turned back on Rachel, whether she liked it or not.
I don't really care about that. What I care about is how she hated the story because it needed to be wokeified, and she hated the fact that there was going to be a Prince Charming of some sort, and they needed to update it.
Here's what people don't see. While the public's watching the drama unfold, there's always movement happening in the background. There are conversations going on right now between publicists, managers, brand reps. Rachel's team is likely debating whether this whole saga is damaging her image permanently, or if they can spin it into sympathy, maybe even a redemption arc. You know, something dramatic like, she's misunderstood, she's just trying to be her authentic self. Meanwhile, Katy's team, they're probably pouring champagne. The joke put her back in the spotlight without scandal, just enough edge to trend, not enough to cancel. And here's the wild part. Neither of them may have expected this to explode like it did. But now that it has, both sides are recalculating. Because once a joke becomes a brand moment, you can't undo it. You ride the wave or get wiped out by it.
When people watched it originally in 1937 in the theaters, it was an amazing experience because for most people, it was the first color movie. But second of all, people had so connected emotionally with the character of Snow White that when she eats from the apple and she dies, people were literally weeping in the theater because they liked the character of Snow White so much.
So Katy Perry cracks one offhand joke, and suddenly we're not just talking about one moment, we're talking about momentum. Because this wasn't just a quick jab at a trending name, this was a ripple effect through an industry that watches everything. When someone like Katy Perry says something out loud, even in jest, it signals something deeper. It means the gloves are off. It tells everyone, from agents to execs to other celebs, that it's now socially acceptable to publicly roast Rachel Zegler. That invisible Hollywood code of don't punch down shattered. And if there's one thing the industry loves more than fresh talent, it's fresh controversy. This joke didn't just get attention, It gave people permission.
Look at this. Look at this face. What can be said about this level of narcissism here?
The biggest fallout from all this? Rachel Zegler isn't just in a media storm. She's become the storm. Every article, every TikTok, every top 10 celebrity fails video in your YouTube feed suddenly has one name in common. Rachel isn't just part of the drama. She is the drama. And the worst part? She didn't even do anything this time. That's how deep the narrative runs now. It's reached a point where she doesn't have to say a word. Someone else does it for her. And she still takes the hit. Katy made the joke, but Rachel became the headline. Again.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl's ridiculous.
Online culture doesn't just react. It catalogs. It archives. It builds timelines. So when Katy's joke went viral, users instantly started digging up everything. Old interviews, past tweets, red carpet moments, and of course, every single cringy Snow White quote Rachel ever gave. The narrative wasn't just being revived, it was being remastered in HD. People made threads. Why Rachel Zegler's backlash was inevitable. They pulled up clips from her D23 interview and edited it side by side with Katy's Spaceflight. Joke, adding dramatic music, countdown timers, even news-style lower thirds like it was breaking news. Because in internet terms, it kind of was. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Rachel Zegler catching strays from The Simpsons, and now, Katy Perry? She's got more side quests than her movie had viewers. Brutal, but also kind of true.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Other celebrities started reacting too. Some subtle, some not. A few liked shady tweets. One or two dropped vague Instagram stories about respecting the classics, or knowing when to stay. Humble. Nothing direct, but when the timing is that convenient, the message is loud. And behind the scenes, it's Whisper Central. PR circles and casting offices are paying very close attention to how this all plays out. Because when an actor becomes unpredictable or polarizing, it affects more than headlines. It affects bottom lines. Is Rachel Zegler now considered high-risk talent? It's a real conversation happening in real offices. Some execs are likely rethinking upcoming castings. Some are holding back announcements. And some are just quietly stepping back and saying, let's wait and see. That's not drama, that's business.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie.
While Rachel's reputation takes another bruising, what about Katy? Well, let's be clear. This wasn't her first rodeo. Katy's brand has always been campy, sharp, and a little chaotic. She knows how to ride a viral wave. But this one? This was a different level. Some people praised her for being the first celeb with the guts to say what fans have been shouting online for months. Others called it petty and said she was punching down. But the truth? Katy Perry walked away from this situation completely untouched. She didn't apologize. She didn't trend for the wrong reasons. And she didn't lose a single brand deal. If anything, she came out looking sharper, funnier, and more culturally plugged in than she has in years. That's not an accident. That's calculation. Katy saw an opening, and she took the shot. And based on the reactions, she didn't miss.
Their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince, and that she falls in love as opposed to leaning into her own power. We could go on.
And then there's Rachel, left with the fallout, the silence, and the sinking realization that her image is out of her hands. Her brand was supposed to be empowering, fresh, and youth-driven. But somewhere along the way, it became defensive, controversial, and, worst of all, alienating. And in an era where relatability is currency, Rachel's account is overdrawn. Now she faces a choice: lean into the backlash and try to rebrand as the unbothered rebel, or attempt a full reboot, new tone, new image, maybe even a good old-fashioned apology tour. Either way, she's got a lot of rebuilding to do, because once the public starts treating you like a punchline, they don't stop until you change the narrative.
Literally no offense to anyone. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Here's the final twist. public opinion can swing back. It always does if you play it right. Plenty of celebs have survived worse. The internet loves a redemption arc almost as much as it loves a scandal. But the longer Rachel stays silent, the harder it gets to flip the script, because right now all people see is the joke and not the person behind it. Meanwhile, Katy Perry walks away with a mic drop moment. Rachel Zegler walks away with a reputation that's still smoldering. And social media? It's already queuing up the next meme.
Cheering for herself.
There are jokes, and then there are moments. What Katy Perry delivered wasn't just a one-liner, it was a pivot point. Because in that split second, the conversation around Rachel Zegler didn't just spark back to life, it evolved. The narrative shifted from celebrity under fire to celebrity frozen in the blast zone. The backlash became entertainment. The silence became the story. And most importantly, the public perception of Rachel stopped revolving around her movie and started revolving around her as a symbol of the Hollywood disconnect, of modern remakes going sideways, of how fast the court of public opinion can switch from applause to exile. And Katy Perry, knowingly or not, put the exclamation point on all of it.
And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story, don't change the characters.
Now the attention turns to the aftermath. Because once the meme storm fades and the headlines scroll past, Rachel's still got a career to worry about. Or at least, she had one with a wide-open future. Now, that future's uncertain. Studios that once saw her as the next it girl are rechecking the math. Brand teams that lined up for deals are quietly pulling contracts off the table. And publicists? They're likely drafting pitches for her next appearance, one that needs to completely shift the tone. We've seen this before. One misstep, one wrong role, one too cool for the room interview, and suddenly the star who was fresh and real is now controversial and high risk. It's not fair, but it's Hollywood. Image is everything, and Rachel's got a cracked one right now. And like it or not, that joke helped seal the perception.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off.
Let's talk about why this joke mattered. Because it wasn't just some edgy remark from a bored celebrity, it was a cultural temperature check. It said something that a lot of people were already feeling but couldn't articulate without sounding bitter or cruel. Katy didn't write a think piece. She didn't start a podcast. She just dropped a line that turned a room silent, then erupted into laughter. Because yeah, it was a joke. But also, it felt earned, and that's why it worked. It wasn't bullying. It wasn't personal. It was situational awareness, and it echoed something the public had already decided, that Rachel had lost touch with. The audience she was supposed to be enchanting. That's not just comedy. That's influence.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
She wasn't a stalker, by the way.
That was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
So, what now for Rachel? Here's the truth. She's got 2 choices: redemption or reinvention. Redemption means stepping up and owning the damage, addressing the backlash directly, leaning in, not deflecting, taking the heat and humanizing herself. That's how you build a second act, by proving you're not the PR version of yourself, but the real one. Reinvention? That's harder. It means disappearing for a while, rebuilding from scratch, coming back with a different kind of role, a different tone, maybe even a different audience. It can work, but only if it's authentic. Either way, what she can't do is keep pretending the storm isn't happening. Because it is. And now, thanks to one spaceflight joke, the spotlight's never been harsher.
And so it was like
those people.
Very much this, yes. It was this
the people that we need
of...
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
Love them in the right direction.
This isn't just about Rachel or Katy. It's about what Hollywood's been getting wrong lately, and what the audience is no longer putting up with. People are tired of stars who act like they're too cool for the story, tired of interviews that feel more like lectures than promo, tired of reboots that ditch the heart of what made the original matter. That joke? It wasn't just about Rachel. It was a reaction to all of it, to the branding, the messaging, The marketing buzzwords shoved into every fairy tale reboot, and it finally boiled over. Katy Perry was just the one who said what millions were thinking. And in doing so, she reminded the industry that audiences aren't just viewers. They're the ones holding the remote.
Every single white male is a piece of shit, and the woman is the hero, and all authority is bad, and all business is bad, but government is good as so. And most people don't know what they're watching. She, unfortunately, sort of pulled the curtain back, and people knew exactly what was going on.
Time moves fast, but the internet moves faster. And even when this headline fades, the clip lives on. It'll resurface. In top 10 savage celebrity moments lists, in YouTube commentary videos, in Twitter threads about PR disasters. Because it wasn't just a viral moment, it became a point of reference. A marker in the ongoing tale of how celebrity missteps now live forever. And the thing is, you don't get to choose which moment defines your brand anymore. Sometimes it's chosen for you. And in this case, it was chosen mid-joke, mid-smirk, mid-laugh. Katy Perry got her laugh. The crowd got their moment. Rachel Zegler got the message. Hollywood's fairy tales keep getting rewritten. But don't worry, I'm here every time one burns. Like the video, hit subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a breakdown when another celebrity storyline flies off script.